Now, in a related development, the NDC is accusing the ruling MPP in Banda of being the brain behind attacks leading to the death of the 28-year-old Silas Wulo Chame. Now, the third phase of the voter registration exercise in the Banda district has generated tension between the MPP and the NDC over who qualifies to register. Banda, remember, is the only constituency with the NDC MP in the Bono region. According to the Bono Regional Communications Director of the NDC, Charles Akowa, it is said that thugs of the parliamentary candidate for the MPP in Banda, Joe Dankwa, ended the life of an innocent soul because of their hunger for power.
For me, I don't see the presence of the security in Banda, and I don't see the presence of the police, the military and the police, because they are there. But whatever these people want to do, they do it with an ease. So the NDC should take it upon themselves and come down to Banda to come and support their own. It's not about Ahmed. Why today? Because there is a registration exercise going on. Everybody wants to come from the MPP national headquarters to from Nana Akufo-Addo or whoever, bringing all the hoodlums to come and attack the Banda people, and now even they can't even move out from one community to the other community, because as I'm speaking, they said there is no movement between Bongase and Banda Inkro. Bongase people shouldn't come to Banda Inkro. Banda Inkro people shouldn't come to Kabrono, and these people shouldn't go away. So if in case someone is sick, if in case someone is in situation that need an assistance, how do we manage them? How do we manage them?
Meanwhile, the Bono Regional Youth Organizer of the NPP, Razak Opong, is also accusing the Member of Parliament for Banda, Ahmed Ibrahim, who is also the Deputy Minority Whip in Parliament, of causing an attack on their parliamentary candidate, Joe Dankwa, and the party chairman on Monday.
NDC for now attack APC. No, because them say, "Oh, I'm attacking just like that." Ahmed Ibrahim or MP. Banda me kanamasa can be say Ahmed Ibrahim. MP Banda.
The NDC supporters went to attack our parliamentary candidate. The incumbent Banda MP sent his people to attack our supporters. These attacks happened in 2012, 2016, and they are happening this year too.
Saniama way Asansi 2020. Now the American as a regional youth organizer. Young president Nana Akufo-Addo Wakache sent it to some yard the other boy. And it was cheerful. And it's a national meeting, a youth organizer, national youth organizer.
We do not want to engage in these quarrels because our president has admonished us to refrain from them. Our parliamentary candidate and constituency chairman were attacked on their way to Banda. They are currently receiving treatment at the hospital. They destroyed the MPP car and beat one of our boys.
As the CMN can say, or Yasabia or Sheno, Yadia, or Mabubo, party car now here, or Mabubo, my boys in back, you go.
We are appealing to the Ghana Police Service to investigate the matter and bring the perpetrators to book.
We are non-horrific.
Yes, sir. Ghana Police. You will do the say I was saying to me at it. Omo amukodi sa nyambra 7 no na emra enomudi.
Now let's speak to the chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Paul Boafo. Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo. Rev, thanks for joining us this morning. First of all, how do these issues strike you? There's a death somewhere in Banda, and there have been some violent flashes elsewhere in the country. What's your reaction? Right, Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo is with the Christian Council of Ghana. He's joined us via Zoom to have a conversation about this. Reverend, how does this strike you? Have you heard of this violence, and what's your reaction, Rev?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your cherished viewers this morning as I come to contribute to this debate. I just heard, just on my way to the office, that I heard of these clashes. But I must say that I will not support it. I will condemn it totally outright, because it is not the best for our nation. This is only a registration exercise that can enfranchise us to vote and to exercise our political rights. So to go in there with all these clashes, I don't think it's in the right direction at all. And I would condemn it right away.
Especially when you hear that in the case of Silas, who has passed away in Banda, he's actually one of the leaders of a group called the Believers Evangelism Network. He was actually on his way to run an errand for the church, we understand. And it's in pursuit of that he passed away. Quite unfortunate, is it not?
Very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. And we can equally say that it's just like a stray bullet just hitting someone innocently who has no knowledge of even what is happening. And these are some of the consequences we have. Some people who might not even have any knowledge of what is happening might be affected adversely. And that is what has happened to Silas. And listening to the story going on a different direction, all in the name of Christ, all in the name of the church, or in the name of something else, then he's just taking as one of those people and killed. I think it's bad. It's in bad taste, and we should not in any way condone. We should not entertain it at all. We should condemn it right away. We should condemn it.
Now, typically, Reverend, it has become a tug of war, both sides of the political divide, ascribing responsibility to their opponents. What would you say, not just limited to what happened in Banda, but what would you say to the MPP and the NDC on this matter?
In the first place, I would say that this is a peaceful exercise we are all undertaking. It's peaceful. Apart from the COVID that came in, which is also putting some restrictions on us, this is not the first time we are going through voter registration. We've done it again and again and again. And so by now, we should have learned our lessons. We should have learned the good ways of doing it, the good manners to come along with all these things. But to take it as if this is a do and die affair where people are taking arms, people are pointing, accusing fingers at each other, it's not the thing that we need as a nation.
Right.
As political parties, yes, if you get your people out to register, all of them, all the heads, all the presidential aspirants are calling their people to come out and register. They've not told them to come and pick up arms. They've not told them to come and quarrel. They've not told them. And there is even no chance. There is nothing in the process that calls for pointing, accusing fingers, or looking at your friend and then trying to fight him. Just be in the queue, take your turn, go home, have your voter card. That is all you need to do. But to go to that extent of trying to call for trouble, calling for all these things, for us as the Christian Council, we always condemn it. We would not entertain these things. We are monitoring. We are also observers. We go around and we look at these things, and we know that maybe our regional people can report on this, and so that we can add it to even our report. We would not entertain such things. And I believe that as Ghanaians, this is peaceful. Registration is peaceful. Even going through voting is also peaceful. That is what we are always calling for. There are certain words that come every 4 years to us, and it's being repeated again. Free, fair, credible, peaceful, acceptable elections. This is what we call for. Peaceful elections.
Right.
It's peaceful. Right. If it's peaceful, please let the process be peaceful, so that whatever comes out is also peaceful.
What must the police do? We often find that there's mistrust, especially between the opposition political party and the police. What must they do now?
I think that the police, they have the law. They know the law. So anybody who infringes on it must be arrested. If the person is found guilty, the person must be arrested. In fact, you see, principles are principles. We should not condone and connive principles. If the person is on the wrong side of the law, he or she must be arrested. For me, that is what I will call for. The police must be up and doing. That is it. Yes.
Reverend Dr. Paul Boafo, thank you very much for joining us. He is the chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, and he was expressing his thoughts on some of the violent acts which have been perpetrated during the national registration exercise. Meanwhile, the paramount chief of the Agogo Traditional Council, Nana Koko Sapong, is calling for a truce between the NPP factions disturbing the peace in the area. Supporters of the MP for the area, Andy Apia Kubi, and his predecessor, Kojoba Jemine, recently engaged in a brawl amid gunshots fired. It followed the June 20 parliamentary primaries convened despite a court injunction. At a peace durbar with both factions, Nana Koko Sapong asked them to smoke the peace pipe.
I know the feuding parties very well. They both served me, especially Ban Ajman. His father was my nephew. I don't support any of you. This is a party matter, and everyone knows where I stand in politics. But in Agogo, I am the overlord. At this moment, Mr. Apia Kubi is my MP and deserves my support in bringing peace and development to the community. Ghanaian politics is full of siblings and close relatives. Myself and former President Kufuor are cousins, but we were in different political parties when I was in active politics. I urge you both to compete fairly and peacefully.
Now, Mr. Apia Kubi, who has the party's endorsement to seek election on its ticket in December, said he is ready to embrace all persons who are keen to campaign for President Akufo-Addo.
The challenges we have are within the political party. Nevertheless, because of the good works that we've done, the development projects we've done, we are able to attract people from outside our political divide. In fact, if you go to the rural communities, even this year, we've been able to connect 33 communities to the national electricity grid. And that has been the motivation for people within other parties to vote for our party. So I want to assure you that come December 7th, the party will amass votes more than what we did in 2016. We did 24,000 and over in 2016. I can assure you that our target will be not less than 30,000 this time around. So with this kind of results, everybody will know that we have turned the constituency around and that the NDC will continue to become irrelevant.
Solving internal issues.
Solving internal issues, everybody is invited to join us. Like I said at the plenary, I said that if you have something in your hand, you don't destroy it. The power is in my hand right now, and I will not destroy it.
Now, we stay with the elections because one of the registration centers identified as a hotspot in the Asawase constituency is recording an increasing number of applicants whose eligibility is being challenged. 17 challenge forms have been completed at the Bola Bola Registration Center since the third phase of the exercise began on Sunday. It is believed police and military presence has compelled party agents to resort to the challenge option instead of violence. And as Sensumenta reports.
Bola Bola is sited along Aswanse's boundaries with Subin and Oforikrom constituencies. Both NPP and NDC have alleged non-residents are being barred by each of them into the area to register at such centers sited on the peripheral of the Aswanse constituency. Unlike in previous instances where fighting easily breaks out in such places, agents are using official channels to seek redress to their grievances. David Ando is the registration officer at Bola Bola.
There hasn't been any problem here. There hasn't been any problem. But it's just that there have been some challenges of people that they think they are not residents of this particular area. That is all that we have today. There hasn't been any.
How many challenge forms have they been?
The challenge form, I think about 11 of them. There are 11 of them. So they will be meeting. The challengers claim they are not residents of the area. So they have to go to the Asokore-Mampon's Chief's Palace and then defend themselves, give truths as to whether they are residents of the area or not. So it's up to them to visit the place and then.
What about the social distancing? Are you finding difficult?
It's been a challenge. We arrange and then they disorganize it. We arrange, they disorganize it. So it hasn't been as we expected. But then all the same, we are managing with it.
So if the challenge forms continues, what is the indication?
Oh, they have the right to challenge. It's also up to the challenger and the challenge to go and then prove himself right. That is all.
So yesterday, how many challenge forms?
Yesterday we filled 4.
4.
Yes, and today we have 11.
The first day?
The first day, I think 3. Yes, it's increasing day by day.
Asokore-Mampong Municipal Chief Executive Ali Dusedu explains the presence of security personnel is to prevent chaos.
Mampong municipality is a densely populated municipality. A municipality of about 500,000 population. It tells you that you have a huge task in maintaining peace and also making sure that all activities are done without any sort of negativity. And where we are currently, we call this place Bola Bola. Bola Bola, we share boundary. The boundary line is just here. For this Asokore-Mampong, just after this rail line is Ufuriku. Now you get to this side also, just after that, the drain. There's also Subi constituency, for that matter, KME. So this is more or less like a borderline between 3 metropolitan municipal assemblies, Asokore-Mampong, Ufuriku, KME. So you can see that you should expect the unexpected. On the basis of that, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that we beef up security just to curtail any eventuality. We don't know what someone might be planning to do, so that in case of any other thing, when it comes to undesirable events, they will be there to curtail them and to make sure that we get free, fair, and peaceful registration.
Nana Asensu-Mensah reporting.
And that's it for elections this morning. Now, away from elections, psychiatrists have called for urgent nationwide psychosocial support programs to educate students, teachers, and parents as COVID-19 cases continue to be reported across some senior high schools. Head of Psychiatry at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, Dr. Ruth Osu-Entry, has this advice on the AM show.
Our concern should now be, or the determining factor probably, to help us know when or whether it is right to open schools and what is the right timing or not, is to find out which of the scenarios affect the mental health of children the more, whether continuous stay at home or reopening of schools. It looks as if we are only concerned about the risk, which is the physical risk, and nobody is talking about the mental impact of all of this. And that's why I'm glad we are having this conversation, because whether they continue to stay at home as children, or whether they come back to school, they would be impacted. Their mental health will be impacted one way or the other. And so we should consider which of the cases or which of the scenarios would impact negatively to a greater degree the mental health of these children. Because if we have, at the end of the day, an educated group of young children who do not have good mental health, then we have another battle on our hand. And so we should, in the conversation about schools of children and reopening of schools and all that, also take into consideration their mental health.
Now, once that they are in school and the consideration for mental health is important, we do know that it's not usually a mainstay of the extracurricular actions of our educational structure. How do we start this conversation in the first place?
And so the first thing I would say is that mental health should actually be incorporated in the curriculum of students.
Now, she also asked for more support for students.
The services should extend to the parents of the children as well. Teachers should be involved, should benefit from counselors. Non-teaching staff or the admin staff in the schools should have access to the counselors. In fact, it should be a policy to provide on-site counselors or on-site mental health experts to provide employee-assisted programs. These are programs that will help deal with levels of stress, levels of anxiety, and we can't ask for this at any better time than this, when the pandemic is making a lot of people anxious. It should be a must, actually, for every institution, especially our education institutions, to have on-site experts, and these should be mental health experts to support every caliber of staff. And when I talk about the staff, I include the parents of the students as well. Children take a lot of cue from how adults handle situations. So I was watching a woman being interviewed, how she's gone back to the school to take her only child back home because she is afraid of the virus, of the child catching the virus. When her child sees the mother this desperate and this anxious and this scared, even if the child was calm inside the school, she will start becoming anxious because all of a sudden she will feel that there is a huge danger ahead of her, which will not help her in her coming exams. My recommendation is that we as adults, even though the situation is serious, is scary, adults are anxious, we should learn how to manage our own anxieties as adults, because our anxiety levels and how we exhibit them directly impact on the anxiety levels of these children.
Now, the story of Dari Poga, the old woman believed to be in her 80s and who has completely lost her fingers and toes to leprosy, is today beginning to attract the attention of the public. She lives in Gurungu in the Upper West region. Her situation, as captured by Seth Kwame Boateng in this latest documentary, Withered Skins, is so sad that she wakes up daily praying to God to send angels to bring her food. She has been abandoned by her 6 children. Here's her story, as captured by Seth.
On a dirt compound is a thatched roofed mud house. Out of it, a frail-looking old woman emerges and walks towards a mango tree to get fresh air. Her name is Dari Poga, a woman possibly in her 80s, living alone in this part of the village with her 13-year-old granddaughter. Dari Poga suffered leprosy at a younger age, but at that time, she did not know what it was. She used local concoctions in the hope that she would recover, but over time, her condition worsened. She has lost all her 10 fingers, and from afar, you might think both hands have been amputated from the wrist. She remembers exactly how one after the other, she lost all her fingers.
Yes. Local medication, a black concoction she used to smear on the skin. Okay. Yeah, he used to smear on the body.
And did she know it was a medical condition or?
say initially they sent her to war when the conditions set in. And that time, Upper West wasn't developed as it stands today. And she went there and they said there wasn't medicating us at that time. And she came back. She said the experience is that it will swell. It will swell from the digits. And it will start chopping off from the digits. From digit to a digits. Call them phalanges. One phalanges to the next phalanges, to the next phalanges, till it reached the palm. That was how they start falling. And that was the beginning where he cannot feed herself.
Leprosy affects the tissues, especially the cartilage, and then more importantly, affects the nerves. Now, when the nerves are affected, it means that there's loss of sensation. Okay? It's not loss of mobility, although there is to some degree, but largely loss of sensation because it's the peripheral nerves or the nerves that are on the surface, if I put it that way, that are affected. Which means that you do not feel pain, you don't feel sensation. For that reason, you can injure yourself and not realize it. Okay? So they end up with sores and with ulcers that eat away at the flesh. The disease in itself also technically eats away at the flesh, the cartilage, and the bone. And so over the years, you get the digits or the extremities receding. And that's where you end up with this club-like features of the fingers or the toes.
And for this old woman, it appears the disease has also affected her eyes, so she tears up unknowingly. She manages to clean those tears with her disfigured hand. Daripuga has lost 4 of her 10 children. The rest hardly visit. In fact, for over 5 years now, none has visited her. All she has now is her life and her granddaughter. She goes to bed without any idea where her next meal would come from, until good Samaritans pass by and offer them food. Daripuga says at times they sleep on empty stomach.
Okay, what basically she's saying is that it's food. If she get money, she can buy food and cook and eat. She's happy. Apart from that, what again does she need? That's what she's telling us.
All she needs is daily meals.
Daily meals. That's what she said.
Today, what she had survived on until our arrival was this mashed local staple called tuzafi, made of corn flour. It wouldn't take a child less than a minute to consume it all. But because it's not enough, Daripuga sips it hourly so it can sustain her throughout the day. Anytime she's unwell and had to visit the local health facility, she treks for miles on her deformed legs, which have only her 2 big toes left.
She rather said before she can embark on the journey, she needs to set off as early as possible before the sunrise. She have to walk small. Sometime before she get to the health center, the cleaners are still even cleaning around. So she will wait when they finish cleaning everything, just take care of her, serve her the medication.
And then she treks back.
So you can see where she lives. You might think it's an abandoned structure. No, it's not an abandoned structure. That's where she rests her head. And at times when there's nobody here, she has nothing to eat because there's nothing she can do for herself.
And already there's help coming her way from the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. She was given assorted food items and toiletries at a cost of 3,000 Ghana cedis and a cash amount of 2,000 Ghana cedis. And above all, a modest house will be constructed for her beginning tomorrow. Rafiq Salam witnessed the event and joins us. So Rafiq, very good news there. I see in the picture, is that the Honorable Hafiz bin Salih, the Upper West Regional Minister?
Yeah, that's the Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Salih, who made the donation on behalf of His Excellency Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. You know, according to the Upper West Regional Minister, the Vice President watched the documentary last night, and he quickly placed a call asking him to do the needful. And what are these things that he sent there? He sent some food items and then also some assorted items, and in addition, a cash amount of 2,000 Ghana cedis. And also, the big news was that where the woman is staying is not the best of places because it's not a conducive atmosphere for her to stay. And so the Vice President has directed that they should build a modest home for her. And so when we're talking about modest home, they are talking about 2-bedroom, and then in the hall, that will include a kitchen and bathroom and then toilet. And so work on that project is going to start tomorrow.
She must be excited.
Yeah, that program was very excited. I would say that she was in Cloud 9 because of what she saw today. And she said that she has never dreamed of having such an opportunity. And she told me that she's going to sleep tomorrow. She's going to sleep tonight very well.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much, Rafiq Salam, joining us from the Upper West region. It's live on JoyNews Desk with me, Daniel Daze. Daryl Carl is next with business, and when he joins us, he will be telling us how the mining sector is facing uncertain future as COVID-19 pandemic is prolonging.
Good morning, welcome to business. My name is Daryl Kwao. The mining industry has been exploring ways to sustain production as the COVID-19 pandemic and its adverse effects prolong. Chief Executive of the Chamber of Mines, Suleiman Ukoni, says most mining firms are uncertain how the year will end and are hopeful for the best.
The real issue is what will be the impact going forward, especially for this year. And I think is what I've actually addressed. Everybody's interest to ensure we sustain production because the price is good. If price is good, all things being equal, you have your royalty and you're able to sustain production. You ramp up production, your royalty will go up. You bump up your corporate taxes, everything goes right, all things being equal, and so on and so forth. So I think we should be in a good position, fairly good position to support the economy going forward. But the watchword is, how does COVID adversely affect production going forward? That is quite uncertain, and as a responsible industry, we need and will continue to actually work together to collaborate, to learn from best practices, not just within country but out there, how other firms are able to manage this pandemic to sustain production.
Have you done any projections yet on it?
We requested for some numbers. They are trickling in. We've not been able to collate everything yet. But like I have said, I will always go back to you to say that it is the inherent interest of industry to ensure that they sustain production. No two ways about it. And the good thing, like I have said, is that we continue to get the support of various policymakers to ensure that we're able to sustain this.
Now, according to the International Labour Organization, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected almost 2.7 billion workers, representing around 81% of the world's workforce. Employee layoffs have already begun on a large scale in many countries, but there seems to be some good news for people in the community where Goldfields Limited mines. It has employed 153 locals. In Athalia Kwanzaa's report, read to you.
153 people have been employed within the last 6 months at Aboso Goldfields Limited, despite the impact of COVID-19 on most companies. Those who have been employed are within the 9 communities of the AGL operational area in the Brishtia Hunu Valley municipality in the Western region. Regional Manager for Sustainable Development Project of Goldfields Ghana Limited, Abdul Razak Yakubu, disclosed this during the Demand Mine Community Consultative Committee meeting, which is held quarterly between the company and the leaders of the communities.
As a company, we have been able, from January to date, engage 156 community members who are working with us. So this is something that we thought we'd share with our stakeholders. To ensure transparency in the process of employment, we instituted an employment committee made up of community leaders, assembly members, chiefs, queen mothers, youth executives, and all that. So this committee oversees the whole process of employing people onto the mine. This is just to ensure greater transparency in the process. And today, as you saw, a committee that was in place in 2018 has finished its mandate, and then new members will be selected to take over. In our host communities, we've identified the vulnerable, and that includes persons living with disability.
Some residents, although lauded the initiative, say Aboso Goldfields can do better in terms of employment.
I think that what they have done today is to sensitize the public in terms of some of the chemicals that they use, especially the cyanide, which has been creating some problem and some discontent within the communities and other things. So I think, training them or telling them the use and the do's and don'ts of the use of the cyanide, I think is a step in the right direction.
Well, in terms of employment in our catchment area, AGL is doing well, but we are expecting them to do more. And then we are expecting AGL to consider our young guys who don't have much experience. They should consider them so that whenever there is any slot, if they consider them, the young ones will also learn something from them.
And that's all in business. Sports is up next.